Hi, this is Amy, and this is what I wore for the end of September. September, I actually had 2 cycles, one at the very beginning and one at the end. Yay for me! Anyway, so if you watched my packing video this month, you know that I was going out of town, and so I packed a whole bunch and ended up not hardly using any of it. But I started out the day with this Amilla pad on, and I specifically wore the Amilla because I wanted to see how it was going through the security at the airport because it has the metal tabs. It was fine. Like I said, my cycle hadn't started yet, but I anticipated that it would that day. And it actually did later that night. So after I'd already reached there, yeah, I think it started, let's see, around dinner time maybe. So I put in my Yuki cup. I am in love with this cup, and it held up great. So I put in my Yuki cup. It was about, like, what am I going to say, 6, 7, probably about 7 o'clock at night when I put it in. And so I just left my Amilla pad on, and I wore this all night until the morning. Although for overnight, I did take off the Amilla and I put on this, my new novel red, this little pansies one, so cute, 7 inches. This is just a liner too. So I wore the Yuki for ended up being about 12 hours before I took it out in the morning, and it had leaked. It was completely full, and I had leaked pretty heavily onto my liner and dribbled off just a little bit, but it held up great, really. I'm so impressed with all cloth pads. They hold so much, really. So, of course, I took that, I cleaned this out, I took this off, and I put on, day 2, I put on this novel red 8-inch. This is what she calls the Ninja pad. It is so cute. It is a suede top, holds up great. It is just an amazing little, super thin. I had my Yuki in for about 4 or 5 hours and then emptied it, and it was fairly full. And then I put in my Maluna on day 2, and I wore my Maluna for about 7 hours, and it was full. I emptied it and reinserted it, and then emptied it again before bed, and it was almost full again on that day too. So essentially, I filled my cup, because I filled this one almost, and then I filled this one twice almost, 3 times in a full day. But I decided to wear cups overnight. I just thought it would be easier and less mess and save me from being embarrassed if, I overflowed, a pad and things like that onto sheets or something. So I wore this all night, and for overnight, I had on my Yorkcraft. This is a 12-inch heavy. I just got this one in a D-stash and am loving it. It held up fantastic, super. So that was the end of day 2, and I had, like I said, I'd had my Maluna in all night. So then day 3, when I woke up, there wasn't a whole lot in here actually, and I emptied it and put on my Essence of Eve, this little 6-inch cotton velour, or is it OBV? Actually, this is OBV. Liner, super soft and just nice and flimsy. And I wore my cup then for about 9 hours, and when I emptied it, it was only half full. So I had one day that I was really a heavy bleed that day. And then for overnight, and I didn't have any leaking or anything like that onto my Essence of Eve. Overnight, I had just reinserted my Maluna, and I wore this 9-inch Lazy Creek Boutique Minky. This pad is what made me fall in love with Minky because it is so, so soft. Just love it. This is considered a moderate, and it is a dream. I bled almost nothing that night. Like in the morning, there was just like little tiny remnants was all there was. So that was moving on to day 4. Already my cycle was getting pretty light. So in the morning after I emptied my cup, like I said, there wasn't hardly anything. I put my Yuki back in and put on my DDB Dinky Dot Spots little cotton. This is an 8-inch liner, light actually. I love this little thing. It's so pretty. I'm so sad that she doesn't sell to the US anymore because this is, like I said, just dreamy. It's got her little, let's see if we can focus there, her little symbol there, right there, Dinky Dot Spots. I wore this all day and had no problems, no leaking, nothing. When I emptied my cup at the end of the day, I had just a tiny little remnants in the bottom again. Nothing to be concerned about at all. Day 5, I was actually then back home, and I just put on a thong liner because I was back at work, and that's all I wore all day, and I, just a little smear, when I went to the restroom, and that was it. And so that was a pretty light cycle. Traveling, I found, like I said, cups were definitely the way to go because then I wasn't embarrassed about sheets or anything like that, and I just knew that they would hold up really well. So I had packed, I think, like 20 pads, and I ended up using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I didn't even pack that one. So I used 8 pads and 2 cups, and I probably didn't even really need to use that many because the overnight pads I certainly didn't need. All right, so that is everything I wore this month. I hope you are having a great October and are looking forward to seeing all of your videos. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.